On May 31st, 1911, the Titanic's hull was launched from the building gantry nearly 7 months after the Olympics hull was launched in 1910. Over 100,000 people watched from the yard as the ship slid down the slip into the River Logan, with the aid of more than 22 tons of grease, consisting of fat, soap, and train oil. A workman was killed just prior to the launch, the second death attributed to construction.
He unfortunately was removing the poles or the lumber underneath, and one fell on him, and he later died in a Belfast hospital.
Lost lives were simply the cost of doing business, with one loss expected for roughly every 100,000 tons of construction. In addition to the human toll was the financial one. The Titanic would ultimately cost Harland & Wolff $7.5 million, equal to well over $120 million today. But at this stage, the ship was still merely an empty hull. 3 large anchors, 3 massive propellers, and 4 funnels were designed and built for the ship. The anchors were forged and hammered of rough-cast steel.
The side anchors were 7 3/4 tons each. The center anchor was 15 tons, and there's a famous picture of all the horses carrying it to the yard.
2 3-bladed side propellers, each 23.5 feet across, weighed in at 38 tons apiece. A 4-bladed center propeller was 16.5 feet across and weighed 22 tons.
The propellers were made at Harland & Wolff's yard themselves. They did have a foundry at that time that produced certain parts. The cast steel bosses for the wing screws and the bronze blades were both produced there, as well as the 4-bladed center screw, which was also manganese bronze.
4 oval funnels lined the center of the ship.
3 of the 4 funnels were necessary for ventilation of combustion and flue gases from the boiler rooms. The 4th one was not necessary for removing boiler gases, but it was added for aesthetics partially, but also was used as a ventilator for the turbine engine rooms, and it also had a pipe that came up from the inside from the galleys, which vented off the coal smoke from those stoves and ovens.
More than 2,000 portholes and windows studded the ship. 2 205-foot masts were attached, one with a derrick for lifting motor cars, and a ladder inside for climbing to the crow's nest to watch for, among other things, icebergs. It would take nearly a year to complete the fitting out of the Titanic.
Fitting out, basically that's the completing of the ship. You take an empty shell and you turn it into a palatial floating palace.
Harland & Wolff now began to incorporate not just the fixtures and fabrics and woodwork, but the technology that would make the Titanic a catalog of Edwardian achievement.